been on a comeback of great proportions as of late. Samus Returns released last year, and with Prime 4 in development and 2 brand new Smash reps to the series, it's time for me to honor one of my favorite game franchises by talking about its biggest baddie. Ridley has been one of Nintendo's deadliest and merciless villains. I mean, he did cause mass genocide of multiple planets, and those that survived were taken as slaves by the rest of the space pirates. And of course there's the fact that he murdered Samus's mother in cold blood, right in front of her. He is a fan-favorite villain among fans, and has made many recurring appearances throughout his series as a staple boss fight. In fact, he's only not appeared in 3 main series Metroid titles: Metroid 2 Return of Samus, Metroid Prime 2 Echoes, and Metroid Prime Hunters. He's even made a few appearances in non-Metroid games. And so, I'll be making a list covering every single boss fight of his in and outside the Metroid series. As long as it's a Nintendo game, it counts. Prepare your power suit and ready your plasma beam, and let's go! Next. Next. Now it's finally time to actually talk about one of the fights, and it's from a spin-off this time. In Super Smash Bros. Brawl, Ridley plays a role in the story as one of the game's bosses. Encountered on the floating island when Samus and Pikachu go into a large chamber and he ambushes them. First things to say, this version of Ridley has an okay design. It definitely makes him look scary and intimidating, but to me he just seems really skinny, like he needs food shoved down his skinny ass throat stat. But what I love about this Ridley is the remix of his signature battle theme. A nice remix with the use of an electric guitar makes the battle against him a lot more intense and fun. As for the fight itself, Ridley isn't too special here. Focusing primarily on melee attacks, he will strike with tail grinds, shuttle loops, dashes, and even an airdrop and a background strike. He does also have a wind gust attack, but that pretty much just pushes you away from him. It's lower down because the fight is still fairly easy, and he doesn't incorporate any of his fire abilities into his attacks. But maybe he'll come back with a vengeance. One thing about Ridley is that we don't know much of Ridley's species. We usually just assume that he is a big purple space dragon. Metroid Other M did have a bit of a solution as to Ridley's background, however. Upon Samus reaching a section of Sector 1 and discovering some bioengineered space pirates, she hurries out after hearing commotion and rushes out to everyone attacking a purple and white beast scaling the building. It sees her, leaps off, and pins her down. This is the mystery creature, or as I like to call it, adolescent Ridley. Yep, this thing is Ridley, or well, it's a stage in his life cycle. The mystery creature serves as an interesting fight. It has a health bar, so I consider it a boss fight. You can't move while pinned under it, and you are stuck in first-person view. To damage him, you have to shoot his tail tip when it's not moving, but he doesn't make it easy. Ridley will move his tail back and forth behind him before striking with it. You'll have to shoot the tail before he strikes, but as you damage him more and more, he will get faster and faster with his movements and strikes, so you'll have a tighter window to do it. But this is his only attack, and you can't deliver the last hit. It's low on the list for these reasons, as well as the fact that it's not the true Ridley yet, and it doesn't even have Ridley's battle theme, just the standard mini-boss theme. Metroid Zero Mission, as many fans know, is a remake of the original Metroid, but it did come with its own after-game story, complete with the introduction of Samus's signature Zero Suit. This also became an indication of Mother Brain not becoming the true final boss. After getting your suit back and climbing to the captain's quarters of the ship, you come into contact with the robotic replica of Ridley, known as Mecha Ridley. This mechanical monstrosity is a robot built by the space pirates in Ridley's image, but it's only halfway done, as wires and cables are seen coming out of its lower half. Because of the condensed space, it's very hard to maneuver well in the fight, as you're stuck to the left side. Mecha's weak spot is the core in its chest, but first you must break the glass casing around it before being able to damage it, but it won't make it easy. Its raising and lowering head will often protect its core, and it will barrage you with a multitude of attacks including fire breath, missiles, laser eyes, and claw swipes. It's hard to dodge them, so you most likely will get hit, but the fight can be easy as just a few super missiles are enough to take the robot down, to which activates its self-destruct and you have to haul your butt out of the ship before it explodes. Super Metroid marked the end of the true original Ridley, killed on Zebes along with the planet. But this didn't stop his reign. Ridley was cloned thanks to some scientists in Other M. However, that clone was also then killed by a Metroid Queen. But his legacy still didn't die. Enter Metroid Fusion. After Metroid Other M's events, the Ridley clone's corpse was taken to a research ship that eventually became overrun with the deadly X parasites. Early in the game, you can enter a room and find the Ridley clone's corpse, frozen in a cold storage, but a wall blocks you from going near it. Until later in the game, when you enter the storage from the other side, the corpse crumbles, and a parasite flies off. You chase it down to a large room, and another corpse is there, but this one comes alive. The next parasite using the DNA and morphing itself to become a copy of Ridley, which... Jesus Christ, my ears! Why? This is Ridley X, or Neo Ridley for some reason. Its fight is similar to most of the other 2D Ridley fights, especially Zero Mission. But unlike Zero Mission, Ridley X takes a lot more punishment and can dish it out. He can spit fire, stab with his tail in various ways, as well as grab you to deal constant damage. And this isn't like the Yakuza spider. You can't wiggle yourself free, you just have to keep pelting Ridley X with charge shots and missiles to make him lose his grip. He has a nice remix of Ridley's theme too, incorporating some of the sound effects associated with the X parasites. Too bad you can't hear it over his constant loud screams of the damned. Please, next time, turn the screaming down. Of the Sprite 2D games, Super Metroid probably had the best 2D version of Ridley. It birthed the signature Ridley battle theme, and the fight was just a good amount of okay. He doesn't scream in your face like Zero Mission or Fusion, he can take a good amount of damage, utilizes various attacks like fire and his tail, and he still isn't integrated into the plot. He after all did destroy the lab at the beginning to steal the infant Metroid. He also has a pretty cool entrance animation, only his eyes showing before his body fades in. The game did mark the end of the true original Ridley, but he went out fighting. There's not much else I can really say about Super Metroid. It's just a really decent fight. Smash wasn't the only spin-off Ridley made an appearance in. In the very underrated Nintendo Land, a robot version of Ridley appears as a boss fight in the Metroid minigame. It's a decent fight, especially if you are in the gunship. All you have to do is shoot the targets on Ridley's hands, tail tip, chest, mouth, and back. It's interesting having to maneuver around Ridley to destroy the targets. He will attack back though with aerial charges, tail jabs, and projectiles. But what mainly lands it this high is the amazing remix of Ridley's battle theme. Have a listen. It's one of the best versions of Ridley's battle theme, and it's only from a spin-off game. There is a version of this Ridley later on that uses ice, but it's almost the same, just a bit harder. After Ridley's defeat in Brawl, he wasn't done yet. Later on in the game, the characters try to escape the island before it explodes. They manage to get to the Falcon Flyer, or to take off, but it's never that easy. Back with a vengeance, Ridley is back for more, and has now been cyberized as Meta Ridley. This fight is definitely more intense than the first fight. The setting is amazing for this fight. You are battling Meta Ridley on top of the Falcon Flyer, which is speeding down a runway as fast as it can go, while a timer ticks down. You have to beat Meta Ridley before it ends and the island gets sucked into the subspace. Meta Ridley does have a better plethora of attacks to use. Using a mixture of melee and range attacks, Ridley can do a wing scrape, drag his claws along the Falcon Flyer, rapid fire a spray of fireballs, and can also attack the fire itself to do damage. He can slam the back of it, causing a wave of fire to go across. He can even completely dunk the fire off screen, and if you're on it when that happens, you're dead. He can also use his weight to drag the fire down slowly from the back of it. He will let go if you damage him enough, but he will shoot fire at you to stop you from getting near him. It's an intense fight, but lots of his attacks don't deal much damage, and he focuses more on instant killing you through various ways. The fire is damaged, the timer runs out, or you instantly are killed by him during the dunk. This may be the first we have seen of Meta Ridley, but it won't be the last. Metroid Other M, filled with so much controversy and mixed reception. I am one of the few that actually enjoyed the game. Maybe not the story per se, but I did enjoy the gameplay quite a bit. During the course of the game, you encounter a small fluffy white creature called the Little Birdie. It's cute, but kind of creepy as it just watches you. You find out later on after defeating the Kai Hunter Queen and its hive, as well as after you defeat the mystery creature. You find it behind a vehicle as an empty husk, like it shed its own skin. After chasing the mystery creature through the pyrosphere, you'll come across its body, shed as well, just like Little Birdie. Then, after entering the geothermal power plant, something is attacking you and Anthony from the darkness. And once you blast open the port to light the place up, the creature reveals itself as Ridley has returned. Controversial scenes aside, this to me is one of Ridley's best appearances. The Little Birdie and mystery creature from earlier, those were just Ridley's early stages of his life cycle. This Ridley, however, is just a clone, not the real one. The real Ridley died on Zebes in Super Metroid. This Ridley was cloned from DNA obtained from Samus's power suit. But there was some stuff that went wrong and Ridley escaped as Little Birdie. But as for the fight itself, Ridley puts up a good fight, attacking both on the ground and from the air. Once on the ground, Ridley an attack with using his claws, a flame breath, a grab straight out of Brawl, and a hail swipe that can easily one-shot you on hard mode. Trust me, I know. He's fairly simple, just shoot him to damage him. But once he reaches a certain amount of health, Ridley will activate a sort of super armor and become invulnerable to most of your attacks, except for one. When you have the chance, go into first person, and you'll have to break his armor with a super missile. But he won't make it easy, as he will attack you, and he gains attacks from the sky, including a tail jab, a slam, and a devastating fireball that can deal up to 2 energy tanks worth of damage. Just rinse and repeat the process to beat him. One of the best things about this fight though is the amazing remix of Ridley's battle theme. It's intense, intimidating, and backs up the power at Ridley's disposal. He isn't any higher because of a couple minor things. You don't actually get to kill Ridley, the Metroid Queen does that for you. The scene before the fight is very subject to controversy regarding Samus and Ridley's interaction, and the next 4 are just better fights. The Metroid Prime trilogy is probably one of the best video game trilogies ever. Great atmosphere and music, great bosses and environments. Retro did a great job with the trilogy, and Ridley makes his appearance in these games too, just not in Metroid Prime 2. In Metroid Prime 3 Corruption, Samus ventures to the pirate homeworld to find Gandreda, who eventually became corrupted and turned evil, and also to destroy the homeworld Leviathan Seed. Once entering the Seed, there doesn't seem to be a protector of it, until a familiar face comes out of one of the Leviathan's pores. This isn't an ordinary Ridley. Now infused with cybernetics and Phazon, he's become the powerful Omega Ridley. Omega Ridley has a very interesting fight. He's a lot of ground-based attacks, including fireballs, a flame breath, a tailspin, a charge, a claw swipe, and a weird orb attack where he'll rear up and hold 2 purple orbs, which he will slam together, creating a shockwave. The orbs can be destroyed to prevent this, though. Omega Ridley has a pretty standard Ridley way of damaging him. Shoot him in the mouth with your attacks when it's open to daze him. This is where it gets more unique. After he is dazed, use your grapple beam to yank it open the armor plating on his chest, revealing his weak spot. Then just fire away at it to damage him. But eventually, Omega Ridley will get smarter and will use his Phazon powers to enhance his chest armor with a Phazon chest plate that is immune to your attacks. This is where your X-ray visor comes into play. Activate it to find the weak spots on the armor's joints, and blast away at them when Ridley becomes stunned. Once the chest plate is off, it will surge with Phazon energy and only Phazon-based attacks will damage it. Ridley will also start getting smarter in this state and will start flying in and out of the Leviathan's pores, bombarding you with fireballs like a carpet bomber. But once you deliver that final blow, Ridley explodes into a surge of Phazon, and you are rewarded with the Hyper Grapple. Have fun! Omega Ridley wasn't the only appearance Ridley makes in Prime 3. Early on in the game, Samus heads down to Norian to assist the Galactic Federation with the pirate assault. After dealing with Generator A and en route to Generator C, after watching a PED trooper deal with some pirates, a huge shadow looms overhead, and you look up to see what it is, and a very familiar figure flies overhead toward a part of the path further ahead. Later, as you make your way down morph ball tubes, you are attacked by who else but Ridley, landing on the bars and attacking you. After dealing with that nuisance, you make your way to Generator C, and after some dialogue from Gandreda, and fixing the generator after it doesn't work properly, you roll out of the bomb slot to see that, well, you aren't alone up there. With both you and Meta Ridley now plummeting down the generator shaft, the stakes are high. You will start out above Ridley as he will send debris at you, and shoot his plasma beam. You are able to somehow dodge all this though. Fire into Meta Ridley's mouth when he opens it to damage him. After either enough time passes or you deal enough damage, Ridley will fly up and grab you, initiating Phase 2. In this phase, you'll get a nice close-up of Meta Ridley's beautiful face, as he will either snap at you with his jaws or give you a nice good old slap across the face, forehand or backhand. You can only damage him when either his mouth or hand glows. This both damages him and disrupts the attack. Once enough damage is dealt, he will let go and you'll be below him as Meta Ridley will now start shooting fireballs at you while flying around slowly. Same as before, shoot him in the mouth when it opens to damage him. The cycle will reverse now as he will then grab you, going back to phase 2, and then let go and you will be above him again. Be wary of this fight though. You have to be precise and quick as this shaft isn't bottomless. That meter at the bottom shows how much of the shaft is left till you hit rock bottom. But upon defeating Meta Ridley, you get a nice finisher, and you are rescued by one of Metroid's most badass characters. This fight lands this high because the premise of fighting Ridley while falling down a shaft is very unique and provides some high stakes and unique combat. I also really like the design of Prime 3 Meta Ridley. The mix of blue and orange is very nice, and I kinda like his more organic metal look to him. But there's still 2 more left. Samus Returns sparked the return of Metroid as a beloved series. A remake of Return of Samus, the game followed many of its traits, but also added in some new things such as the Aether abilities and the amazing boss fight against the Diggernaut. But there is one other new thing they added. After you defeat the Metroid Queen, you probably presume that you're pretty much finished. After encountering the baby Metroid, you bring it back up to the surface to take it home. As you reach the surface to get back to your ship, you notice that the weather is getting pretty choppy, like a storm's coming. But once you get to your ship, you think all is safe. But a grudge never forgets. Back with a vengeance, Ridley isn't letting you get away that easily. Thanks to his healing factor, Ridley has started to heal most of his body parts, and shed his metal casings to become Proteus Ridley. Immediately thrust into the fight, Proteus Ridley will attack with claw slashes, tail jabs, slams, and some kind of plasmatic fire breath. For the entirety of this fight, Proteus Ridley is immune to standard missiles, so you'll have to rely on your plasma beam and beam barrage to deal out the damage to him. Proteus Ridley will be very aggressive during this fight, so you will be kept on your toes at all times. After dealing enough damage, Samus will knock Ridley into a wall, causing the cliff to collapse on him. But it's not enough, and Ridley bursts free to go on the attack again. Now comes the second phase. Proteus Ridley now gains some new attacks and gets faster. His tail jab now causes a ripple when he pulls it out of the ground, and he also gets a dashing attack where he rears back and charges up before charging toward the other side of the arena, as well as a single plasma shot that can deal a good amount of damage. Just do the same as before, just be more careful of his attacks, especially his charge and plasma shot. Once enough damage is dealt, you will go into another cutscene where Proteus Ridley pins Samus to the ground and seems to have the upper hand. That is until the baby Metroid comes to the rescue and saves Samus, latching onto Ridley's head and draining his energy before being swatted off. Now enters the third phase. Ridley now gains 2 attacks, both of which he performs in the air. He can now perform his signature grab attack and a downward plasma shot that spreads when it hits the ground. After dealing enough damage, the baby Metroid will drain some of his health and give it back to you, replenishing some of your health. However, immediately after this, Ridley will perform a lunging bite. When he goes for this lunge, you can perform a melee counter to knock him back, for which you can go into a cinematic to deal some major damage to him. The baby Metroid will do this again later, and you have a chance for a second melee counter that allows you to deliver the finishing blow to Ridley and knock him out for good. This fight is very tense and easily keeps you moving and on your feet, dodging his attacks and firing at him. Not to mention that the baby Metroid even comes in to join the fight and save you. Another thing that sells this fight is the battle theme. Proteus Ridley gets 3 separate battle themes, one for each phase. His first phase theme incorporates remixes of both Meta Ridley's theme and the Clone Ridley theme from Other M. His second phase theme incorporates more of a meta Ridley style theme to it, and his final phase theme is easily an inspired remix of Neo Ridley's theme from Fusion, with the multiple phases, multiple themes, and throwbacks next to classic Ridley battle themes, as well as just the fight itself. It's clear that this fight is one big tribute to Ridley's legacy and his incarnations throughout the series. Even his appearance is his in-between process of Meta Ridley to regular Ridley. An amazing fight for the great return of both Samus and Ridley. It's also the first game where Ridley appears as a final boss. Through process of elimination, you know which one this is. After forgetting about it for pretty much the whole game after the prologue, Meta Ridley comes back to remind you why you came to Talon 4 in the first place, by blowing up the only thing that would allow you to get to the impact crater. Now it's finally time to bring down the cyborg dragon once and for all. Meta Ridley will start off the fight by attacking you from the air, by firing beams of plasma and firing missiles from his chest. Meta Ridley will also sometimes land on the ground, causing a shockwave that will damage you. Ridley's main tactic is that he will hide below the temple platform before coming back up in a random location to ambush you and perform one of his attacks. Ridley also has one more attack up his sleeve in this phase. Ridley will fly off into the far distance out of reach of your weapons before coming back at high speed and bombarding the area with fireballs like a bomber plane. In this phase, all you simply need to do is pump your plasma beam into his weakened chest plate. Once enough damage has been dealt, Meta Ridley's wings will catch fire and malfunction, forcing him to the ground. Now it's a close quarters, one-on-one, no-holds-barred brawl with no cheap flight tactics. Ridley now gets some new moves at his disposal, including a lunge, a tail swipe, a sweeping plasma beam, and a claw swipe. He does also retain his shockwave slam from the first phase as well. Same rules apply as before, however this time you need to expose his chest since it's underneath him. So now you have to fire at his mouth when he opens it to perform an attack such as his lunge or plasma beam. Dealing enough damage will cause him to keel over, exposing his chest plate for you to pump plasma into. And once the final blow is dealt, the temple reactivates to deliver one final epic blast that sends Ridley off the cliff to his doom. This fight is everything a Ridley fight needs. An ambush, Ridley destroying something you need, a flying phase, and more importantly, a one-on-one fight on the ground where both of you are now on even footing. And that final blow from the temple brings it all together. Not to mention that amazing techno-style remix of Ridley's signature battle theme. I am the Thevaporeonsshadow, and Prime 1 Meta Ridley is, in my opinion, the best Ridley battle. See you all next time.